So the next topic that we are going to discuss about is the 5G reference signals. So whenever we talk about reference signals, this is again not a new thing. We have already discussed about the reference signal in the 4G technology. So similarly in 5G we have additional reference signals which we have a little bit discussed about when we were starting of the chapter. So in 5G, we do not have cell-specific reference signals which we had in 4G. Here we have user-specific reference signals. So the first reference signal that we will be discussing about is the demodulation reference signals. If we talk about LTE, then we also have the same reference signal there, but with a selected channel. Here we are using DMRS or demodulated reference signals with respect to the PDSCS channel, with respect to the PUSCS channel, with respect to PUCCS channel, with respect to PDCCS channel, and with respect to the PBCS channel, which is your physical broadcast channel. So all these channels are having their associated demodulated reference signals, which is used to estimate the radio condition. So with the help of this demodulated reference signal, system can beamform the radio beams. There can be multiple DMRS signals that can be allocated to support MIMO. Now this is an example of how the UE specific DMRS is basically with respect to the PDSCS channel. So a DMRS reference signal with respect associated with the PDSCS channel. So we have multiple antenna ports, and these antenna ports are used for the transmission. So what are demodulated reference signal? They are nothing but they are the gold sequences which are the orthogonal sequences which are used to differentiate the multiple users with respect to their channel. So can be used on PBCH, PDCCH, PDSCH and PUSCH. So we have DMRS in the downlink direction, we have DMRS in the uplink direction. Here we have in downlinks, when we talk about the DMRS signal, we have various parameters which define the time duration or time domain resources used for the DMRS. Like we have PDSCS symbol allocation, mapping type, whether we are using DMRS type A or type B, what is the DMRS length, and what are the symbols which are used for the DMRS, whether we are using one symbol, two symbol or whatnot. So we have a parameter for it which defines the DMRS additional position. Okay. So the resources in the frequency domain for the PDSCS transmissions, they are scheduled with the help of a DCI in the field which is frequency domain resource assignment, and this particular field is indicating whether the resource allocation for the resource blocks is continuous or non-continuous, and it will be dependent upon the resource allocation type, right, which we will be discussing in the last chapter. Here you will see a term called front loaded. So front loaded DMRS, they are used to reduce the latency, right? So it means that the DMRS symbol will be located at the front or the beginning of the PUSCS transmission, here we are talking about PDSCS. So in the front of the PDSCS transmission, in order to facilitate the early channel estimation. Okay, moving to the next slide. We have two different type of DMRS which are supported. One is type 1, another is type 2. So in the type 1 DMRS, the DMRS OFDM symbol locations are defined with respect to the first OFDM symbol of the slot. And what is the first OFDM symbol? It is nothing but your symbol 0. So the location of first DMRS OFDM symbol is provided by the DMRS type A position, which is either 2. So this is your 0, this is your 1, this is your 2. So it can be either 2 or 3 or whatnot. Right, so these are the two type of configuration, and with respect to these two configurations, we have the orthogonal ports defined, we have the waveforms defined for it, and the number of OFDM symbols, whether this number of OFDM symbol is 1, as you can see here, whether it is 2, whether it is 3, or whether it is 4. Right, so we have a different number of OFDM symbols which can be allocated to the PDSCH channel. Right, similarly for type 2, the location of the first DMRS symbol is again always 0. Right, so it will be similar to what we had in the DMRS type 1. So with respect to symbol number 0, we will have the position of the DMRS type 2 reference signal. So the maximum number of symbols which are for the demodulation reference signals, they are with respect to the RRC configuration or RRC signaling with the parameters like DMRS additional position or maximum length of symbols. So here the maximum length is 4, where we have 1 is your DMRS original signal, and then we can have additionally 1, 2 or 3 symbols. So next is your a difference with respect to the ports. So we have here 2 ports and here we have 4 ports. We are not considering the data which is FDM with DMRS. FDM is frequency division multiplex. So the information is provided by the RRC message, whether it is type 1 or type 2, as we have already discussed. Then maximum DMRS length, whether it is 1 or 2 symbols. And how do we get the information? So that information is given by the DCI. DCI we have already discussed is downlink control information which is sent on the PDCCS channel. So it gives us the information about the length of the DMRS, number of ports, what are the actual ports assigned, and whether the data is multiplexed with DMRS or not. Right, so these are the different values of different values which determine the number of DMRS groups without data and what are the number of ports used for its implementation. Right, so these are the different parameters which are specified with respect to the PDSCH demodulation reference signals. So SCID, which is your scrambling ID, which can be either 0 or 1. Then you have configuration type, whether you are using type 1 configuration or type 2 configuration. What is the position, whether it is position number 2, 3, and what is the position of the additional symbols that you are using. So you can have position 0, 1, 2 or 3. What is the length of DMRS, and whether you are using single symbol or double symbol. So these are the different type of parameters that define the position of the DMRS, the allocation of the DMRS within that particular slot, whether you the type of DMRS, the length of DMRS, and the position of the additional symbols that you are using for the implementation of DMRS on the PDSCS channel. So this covers your DMRS. Next we are moving to the PTRS. PTRS is again a reference signal which is used to track the phase of the local oscillator at the transmitter and the receiver. So the main objective of PTRS is to suppress the phase noise and common phase error, especially at the higher millimeter wave frequency, because in 5G we are talking about implementation of the network at the millimeter wave frequency. So at higher frequency there are higher chances of an error due to phase noise. So this particular reference signal, it is used at both uplink and downlink. So this is a signal which is very much necessary if we talk about higher frequency deployment scenario, right? So figure on the left hand side represents the position of the PTRS signal in the frequency domain as well as on the time domain. So it is present in both downlink and uplink. So in the downlink channel on the PDSCH, and the uplink channel on the PUSCH obviously. So it has low density, as you can see in the frequency domain. It has low density. So x-axis represents the time domain, y-axis represents the frequency domain. So low density in the frequency domain but higher density in the time domain. It is associated with one DMRS port during transmission and can be configured depending upon the quality of the oscillator. So let's take a look. So phase noise increases with the carrier frequency obviously. So we have an implementation of the frequency from 28 gigahertz to let's say 52 gigahertz, right? So we have higher phase noises as we move to the higher frequency. That means one OFDM symbol can vary with respect to few degrees, right? So we have the tracking of phase noise with respect to symbols used in both uplink and downlink. So it supports both OFDM and DFT SOFDM, which is also used in the downlink uplink direction. Then time density. Now we will discuss about the frequency and time position. So time density, every second symbol. So here you can see every second symbol, 4th, 6th, 8th, 10th and 12th. Frequency pattern, 1 RE every second PRB. So you have this PRB or RB. So 1 RE every second PRB, every 4th PRB, every 8th PRB. So this is your position in the frequency domain. So when we talk about PTRS is configured depending upon the quality of the oscillator, the carrier frequency, subcarrier frequency, the MCS that the transmission is going to use, right? So let's take a look. So we have the time density, which is based on the MCS that we have already seen. Frequency density, that is based on the number of scheduled PRBs to the user. So if we talk about scheduled MCS, so we have MCS 0 to MCS 1, then in that case no PTR is being used. If we are using MCS 1 to MCS 2, then every OFDM symbol is going to be used in order to send the PTRS. MCS 2 to 3 every second symbols, and MCS 3 to 4 every fourth OFDM symbols. How to determine the frequency domain density? So it will depend upon the number of scheduled PRBs, right? So this is a particular ratio. So 0 to NRB1 PTRS is not present, RB1 to RB2 every second PRB, and it is less than the scheduled NRBs than every fourth PRBs. So here every OFDM symbol, every second OFDM symbol, every fourth OFDM symbol. So this is how the time domain representation is done with respect to the PTRS, with respect to the MCS, and then we will also see with respect to the RBs. Okay, so frequency density, 1 tone every 2 RBs. So considering this one, right? So next reference signals that we are going to discuss about is CSI-RS. So we have also the same reference signals used in the LTE Advanced, right? And the main objective was again for the downlink channel estimation, right? So here also we are using this channel for the downlink channel estimation in the downlink direction. So the UE is going to read the CSI reference signal, it is going to estimate the channel condition, and it is going to report the CQI back to the G node B. So in new radio it uses different type of antenna approaches. So here we have the frequency span as well as the time span, that is your slot n plus 1. So here we have the minimum of bandwidth part size, 52 RB. So whatever is the minimum will be taken into the consideration. So we are talking about wideband transmission which is over 2 symbols per slot. So on the 2 consecutive slots, and second slot is optional for the FR2. So you have 2 slots over here, and then with respect to 2 slots you have the CSI information or CSI reference signals mapped. CSI reference signals with density 3, that is number of tones per RB. So this is how it is going to be mapped. So symbol number 4 and carrier is 0. Right, so this represents your number of symbols, and these are nothing but your subcarriers, and this is your 1 RB. Right, so this is how it is going to be represented. So this is your bandwidth part, which is either minimum of the bandwidth part size that has been allocated for the access to the user, or the 52 PRBs. And then this is how it is going to be represented within a 1 PRB. Right, so CSI information is used for CSI reporting, downlink beam management, and mobility. Obviously, because with respect to CSI RS, the RSRB measurements are done, and based on those RSRB measurements, the decisions related to the mobility and beam management are taken. So if we talk about the lower frequencies, the system uses the modest number of active antenna for multi-user MIMO and also adds the FDD operations. Okay, so CSIRS is also configured for a specific UE, but again multiple users can also share the same resource for the CSIRS reference signals as shown here. Right, so with respect to the ports, we have approximately 32 ports defined for CSIR reference signals, and with respect to those we have the implementation or the mapping of CSIRS on the resource grid. So here you can see the resource grid, and you can also see the mapping of the different ports. So the black color representing port 3000 to 3004, the yellow color representing the ports from 8 to 16, that means your 88 ports. Right, so we have approximately, if you look here, 32 ports, and in 5G we have the high level of flexibility for the configurations of CSIRS reference signal, and we have approximately, you can say, 32 ports over here. The time domain and frequency domain implementations. What are the symbols? The symbols, OFDM symbols are 2 to 4 which are used, and the subcarriers are 0 to 4, 6. Right, 0 to 4, 6. These are the frequency domain position, and for 2 to 3 for time domain of one port, 4 to 6 for time domain to another port. Right, so configuration frequency 1 to 32 ports, varies with number of ports. Density we have already seen with respect to the density of 0.5 and the density of 1. So density is 3 RE per port per RB, or it can be 0.5 RE per port per RB. In that case, 1 RE in every 2 RBs are used. So for we can also have multiple implementations for the CSIRS. It can be periodic, it can be aperiodic, it can be semi-persistent CSIRS, and this will be determined by the DCI, that is downlink channel information on the PDCCS channel. And how do we get the information? It is indicated by the RRC configuration. Configuration the time, we have already seen what are the different configurations within the time domain in the form of the symbols 2 and 4. Okay, so we have three type of activation mechanisms, whether we can have a periodic activation, aperiodic activation, or semi-persistent activation. So periodic is simple, it is already configured. So every 4 slots, let's say the CSI reference signals are being transmitted, the UE is going to read that information, estimate the channel condition, and it is going to report the CQI. This is one sort of configuration, that is your periodic. Another is aperiodic, in which the G node B is going to tell the UE that the G node is going to tell the user equipment that yes, I am sending the PDCCH, and this is the DCI with respect to which I will be transmitting the CSI reference signals, right? So it is triggered via DCI by indicating the triggering state of aperiodic CSI report associated with the CSI resource. So how it is transmitted? It is transmitted via an offset which is 0 to 4 slots from the slot containing the DCI trigger, right? So we have a different configuration set for it. Then we have semi-persistent CSI reference signals, in which period and slot offset include the same options as for the periodic CSI reference signal. It is activated or deactivated with the help of MAC-CE. So once activated, it cannot be deactivated until and unless a MAC-CE message is sent with the deactivation, right? So activated and deactivated by a DCI which is carrying the PUSCH grant for CSI reporting on the PUSCH. So these are the different type of activation mechanisms of CSI reference signals with respect to the implementations. Next we will move to the TRS, that is tracking reference signals. So we have already discussed about the Doppler effect in 4G. Similarly, we have Doppler effect in 5G also. So considering a separate reference signals, that is TRS, tracking reference signals, in order to avoid the interference because of the Doppler spread. So the usability of TRS is that it is used for time and frequency tracking, for estimating the delay spread, and for estimating the Doppler spread or shift at the transmitter or the receiver side, and it is supported for both above and below 6 GHz. If we look at the time and frequency resources, so we have again this, it is similar to what we had in PTRS. Bandwidth size, bandwidth part size, 52. The minimum of these two is the frequency span. Then we have the position symbol number 4 and 8, and on that position we have the CSIRS with density of 3 over here. So we have 3 tones per RB. If you look here, position number 4 and 8, we have 3 tones, and these reference signals are basically used for your delay spread correction. So if you remember, if we talk about 4G, then see the channel specific reference signal, cell specific reference signals that were used in 4G. One of the functionality of that reference signal was to avoid or mitigate the Doppler spread. So here we do not have any cell specific reference signal, so we are using TRS instead in order to mitigate that interference. So wideband transmission over the 2 symbols per slot on the 2 consecutive slots. Okay, so second slot is optional for FR2, which is similar to what we had in PTRS. So single antenna port transmission, and the periodicity is 10 ms, 20 ms, 40 ms. It is configurable for 80 ms. Okay, the next signal that we are going to discuss about is the uplink only reference signal, which is sounding reference signal. It is used by the UE to help the G node B obtain the channel state information for each user. It will describe the new radio signal propagation from the UE end to the G-node B end, and it uses and the system is going to use this SRS for the resource scheduling, link adaptation, considering the massive MIMO and beam management in the 5G network. So uplink channel state acquisition covering frequency selective scheduling. So we have this SRS depending upon which the CQ, the channel quality is estimated, the MCS will be corrected, the rank indicator will be corrected. So SRS is sent on the uplink only direction. It is configured with respect to specific UE. So this spec picture actually gives you an information about the position of the SRS with respect to the 3GPP parameters. So number of symbols allocated for SRS is defined by N1, N2, N4. The maximum number of length of SRS symbol is 4. How many number of PRBs? So it is determined by a parameter called as MSRSB, which is again dependent upon the number of subcarriers for the reference signals. Then we have the number of slots. So SRS can take how many symbols within the 6 symbol region in a particular slot. So it is defined by a parameter called as I0. Right, so in time domain we can have 1, 2 or 4 symbols, as you can see here, 1, 2 or 4 symbols, consecutive symbols which are mapped within the last 6 symbols. If we talk about LT, the SRS signal was mapped on the last symbol of the particular slot, right? Here the SRS is mapped within the last 6 symbols of the slot. So we can have multiple SRS symbols, which allows coverage extension and increased sounding capacity. If you talk about the frequency hopping mechanism of SRS in 5G, it is similar to what we had in LTE, right? So frequency allocation depending upon the bandwidth and the offset relative to the start of the bandwidth part. Frequency hopping activation is similar to what we had in LTE. Time allocation, we have this starting OFDM symbol which from the particular parameter I0. Then we have the number of OFDM symbols, which can be 1, 2 or 4, and then we have the repetition factor associated with it. So frequency allocation, we have already seen this configuration table in 4G, right? So this MSRS determining the number of SRS. So we have either 256 REs either, or we can have 128, or we can have 64 or 4. So either one complete SRS of 256 length, or we can have 2 SRS of length 128, or we can have 4 SRS of length 64. So like here, if you look here, we have a single bandwidth part over here. With the help of bandwidth part offset, we can determine the position of SRS. So a complete SRS of 256 length, or we can have 2 SRS with the length of 128, or we can have 4 SRS with the length of 64 determined by the RRC parameters, right? So it will be determined by the RRC parameters. So this is all about the different type of reference signals that we have in 5G radio. So this completes our reference signals. After the time location, starting symbol, number of OFDM symbols. So again, I think this is similar to, we have the last 6 symbols, and these, with respect to these 6 symbols, with the help of a parameter called as I offset, we can determine the position of SRS. Okay. So this completes our reference signals in 5G. In case if you have any questions, any doubts, please message us or mail us. We will be more than happy to reply you. Thank you so much.